It was Christmas night. Snow fell so thick and heavy that it covered up even the sound of guns firing. The Navy SEAL team was stuck in the valley with enemies shooting at them from 4 different directions. Their radio was broken and full of crackling noise. A lieutenant smiled a little bit and looked at the woman wearing a silver camouflage coat. "What's your rank?" he asked. The question sounded like a joke to make everyone feel less scared. She did not answer him. Instead, she just unlocked her rifle. 3 seconds later, the commander fell down because sharp metal pieces hit him. And through all the bullets flying everywhere, her voice called out. It was calm, exact, and left no room for anyone to argue back. The valley should not have looked beautiful, but it did. White snow covered the ridge lines like frosting on a cake that nobody would ever eat. Red flares floated through the darkness and painted the snow piles in shades of blood red. From somewhere in the village, about 2 clicks to the east, broken Christmas music played through someone's radio. Silent Night sounded strange and creepy because of the distance and the static noise. Lieutenant Marcus Webb looked at his watch. It was 10:47 at night on December 24th. "Merry Christmas," he said quietly to no one in particular. The SEAL team moved in a spread-out line through the narrow mountain pass. There were 8 soldiers. They had one mission goal. They needed to get a very important person who had secret information from the northern village. Then they had to disappear before the sun came up. Get in and get out with no fighting. This was the kind of mission that looked easy on paper. Webb had done 17 of these missions before. 16 of them had gone exactly as planned. He was not the superstitious type, but he did not like the feeling that came with the number 17. The woman walked forth in the line. She had joined them at the meeting place 6 hours earlier with very little introduction. Sniper consultant. The officer giving the briefing had said, "She will watch from above if things get complicated." There was no name and no unit name showing on her gear, just a call sign sewn in faded thread on her chest strap. It said WRAITH. Her rifle was custom-made and not the regular kind they give soldiers. The scope alone probably cost more than Webb's truck. She moved with the careful precision of someone who had learned not to waste anything. Not energy, not attention, not bullets. Petty Officer Jackson, Rivera walked at the front of the group. His breath made small clouds in the freezing air. Behind him, Chief Daniel Morrison watched the left side of the area. The woman called WRAITH watched the right ridge line with a kind of awareness that made Webb's skin tingle. She was not just looking around. She was reading everything. "Command, this is Sierra 2, Webb whispered into his radio. "Passing checkpoint Delta. No contact. Proceeding to extract point." Static noise answered him. Then a voice came through, thin and metallic sounding. "Copy, Sierra 2. Weather is getting worse fast. Be advised. Satellite coverage is coming and going. You are on your own for the next 40 minutes. Webb clicked his radio twice to show he understood. Specialist Thomas Carter was the youngest member of the team at 23 years old. He fell into step beside WRAITH. He had been sneaking looks at her since they started moving. "So," Carter said quietly, "what does a consultant do that we don't?" She did not look at him. Her eyes stayed on the ridgeline. "Same thing, just quieter." "Right." Carter grinned. "And the rank thing? What are you, like a contractor?" "Former military." "Former? Which branch?" "The quiet one." Carter waited for more. He got nothing. He tried a different approach. "That's a nice rifle. Custom build. Standard for the work." "What work?" For the first time, she looked at him. Her eyes were the color of steel in winter. Not cold exactly, but without warmth. The kind of eyes nobody writes about. Webb's voice cut through the darkness. "Carter, shut it. Save your breath." The kid fell back, feeling embarrassed. They moved deeper into the valley. The snow muffled their footsteps, but it also made it harder to be aware of what was around them. Every shadow could be hiding a threat. Every pile of snow could be covering a mine. WRAITH stopped. The entire group froze in place. Webb raised his fist, the signal to stop. Every weapon came up, covering different areas. 20 seconds of complete silence passed, except for the wind. "What?" Webb whispered. Wraith tilted her head a little bit. The way a wolf might when trying to figure out a smell. The village music stopped. Webb listened. She was right. The small Christmas song that had been playing since they came into the valley was gone. Could be nothing, Morrison said. Generator died. Batteries ran out. Could be, Wraith agreed, but she did not move. Rivera checked his thermoscope. No heat signatures. Valley's cold, Wraith said. Too cold. Webb felt it then. That animal feeling that separated soldiers who lived long enough to retire from those who came home in coffins. The valley felt wrong. Not dangerous yet. Just wrong. We pushed through, Webb decided. Fast and tight. We are 10 minutes from the extract point. Wraith moved her rifle to a quick draw position across her chest. Then we should move slower. Slower gets us caught in weather. Webb argued back. Storm front is coming in. Storm's already here, she said, looking up at the sky. We just have not felt it yet. Webb studied her for a moment. In the red glow of a dying flare, her face showed nothing. Not young, not old. Just made from something harder than the moment needed. Noted, he said, but we move fast. She did not argue. She just adjusted how she was holding the rifle and kept moving forward. The team went down into the lower part of the valley where the informant was supposedly waiting in a small hut used by shepherds. It was marked on their GPS. The building appeared ahead. Small, made of stone, with a single window glowing from candlelight. Perfect. Too perfect. Webb raised his hand again. The team spread out into attack positions. Morrison moved to the door. Rivera covered the window. Carter took the back way in. Wraith did not move toward the building. She turned her back on it completely, facing the ridgeline they had just come down from. Wraith, Webb hissed. Wrong direction. No, she said softly. I am facing exactly right. Then the world exploded. The first rocket-propelled grenade hit the slope 15 meters above them. Snow and rocks burst up in a wave that knocked Carter off his feet. The second rocket screamed past Morrison's head, close enough to burn the edge of his beard. The third rocket, the one that really mattered, destroyed their drone in a burst of fire and sparks. Contact! Contact! Rivera was shouting into the radio, but the words broke up into static. Muzzle flashes lit up from 3 different spots. The north ridge, the east saddle, and the tree line to the west. It was a perfect L-shaped ambush. Textbook style. Webb's mind recorded it even as he dove behind a boulder. 50 or more enemies, up on high ground, big weapons, organized fire. This was not a random attack. This was a kill box, and they had walked right into it. Morrison, get that door open. Oui, Webb screamed. The chief kicked the hut door once. Twice. It broke inward. But instead of the informant, they found 2 dead bodies. Local men, killed recently. Their blood was still steaming in the cold. It's a trap. Morrison yelled, but everyone already knew. The radio was useless, jammed or destroyed. Webb could not tell which. The satellite phone was in the burning drone wreckage on the hillside. The nearest friendly soldiers were 90 kilometers away through land no helicopter could fly through in this weather. They were alone. Webb's training took over. Rally point, East Tree Line. Move, move, move. The team broke from their hiding spots in a fighting retreat, shooting to keep the enemy's heads down as they ran. But the enemy had the high ground, the numbers, and the first move advantage. A burst of machine gun fire walked across the ground near Carter's feet. The kid stumbled, caught himself, and kept running. Wraith moved differently. While the others ran, she walked backwards. Her rifle came up in one smooth motion, and she fired 3 times in quick order. Webb did not see what she hit, but one of the machine gun spots went silent. Wraith, fall back, Webb shouted. She fired 2 more times at different spots, then turned and ran to catch up with them. Not panicked, not rushed, just efficient. They reached the tree line and made a circle with their backs to each other, weapons pointing outward. 8 soldiers in a circle. The amount of bullets coming at them was overwhelming. Status. Webb barked. Martinez took a round in the plate. Someone called back. He's good. Stevens has metal pieces in his leg. Radio's dead. Drone's gone. The situation was getting worse faster than Webb could think through it. His mind went through options. Break away and run. But run where? Dig in and wait for rescue. But rescue could not come without communications. Fight through. But they were outnumbered at least 6-1. A mortar shell landed close enough to shower them with frozen dirt. Jackson Rivera, his face covered with black soot, crawled over to Webb. "Sir, we need air support or big guns or something. We cannot hold this spot." "I know. So what's the call?" Webb opened his mouth to answer, but no words came out, because he did not have an answer. Every tactical choice led to the same ending. Injuries. Probably bad ones. Maybe everyone dead. Another mortar round. Closer this time. Carter was breathing hard, almost gasping for air. It was a kid's first real fight. Webb had seen that look before. The moment when practice meets reality and reality wins. "Hey," Carter said, his voice breaking a little. "Hey, maybe we should." A huge explosion cut him off. Webb's ears rang. When his eyes cleared, he saw Morrison holding his side. Blood was leaking between his fingers. "Chief's hit," someone yelled. Webb crawled over quickly. The wound was bad. Sharp metal pieces had hit him in several places. Morrison would live if they got him out soon. But soon was not an option. The morphine came out. Field dressing, pressure, all the things that bought time when time was not for sale. WRAITH appeared beside Webb without making a sound. "How bad?" she asked. "Bad enough." Webb's hands were shaking. Not from fear. From the pure mental weight of trying to keep 8 men alive when the math said it was not possible. "You need to make a decision," WRAITH said. "I know." "What are you going to do?" Webb looked at her. In the chaos, her face was still calm. Not peaceful calm. The way a doctor is calm when elbow deep inside someone's chest. "I don't know," he admitted. And that was when another mortar round landed right on their spot. Webb did not hear the explosion so much as feel it. A wave of pressure that made the air solid for a tiny second. He was thrown sideways and slammed into a tree hard enough to see stars. When his vision steadied, he saw Morrison knocked out, Rivera screaming into the useless radio, Carter frozen, weapon lowered, eyes wide. And then he saw the worst thing. Lieutenant Commander Nathan Foster, the actual commanding officer of the mission who had been directing from the second position, was lying still 20 feet away. His neck was bent at an angle that meant he would never give orders again. The chain of command had just been cut. Webb was now the senior officer. That meant the decision was his. 8 men. No support. No communications. No plan. Rivera crawled over, his face white. "Webb, Nathan's gone. You're in command." "I know." "So what are we?" "I don't know." Webb shouted. Then he immediately felt bad about it. Fear was catching. He could not afford to spread it. He took a breath and tried to think. But all he could hear was the bullets coming in. All he could see was the dead bodies in the hut. All he could feel was the certainty that they were next. Someone touched his shoulder. WRAITH. She was not looking at him. She was looking at the battlefield with the same expression she had before. Reading, processing, calculating. "What's your rank?" Webb asked suddenly. Strangely, the question came out almost like a laugh, because what did rank matter when they were all about to die? She did not answer right away, just kept studying the enemy positions. Finally, without looking at him, she said, "High enough." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you need." Another explosion. More screaming. Carter was hit now too. Shoulder wound. Not life-threatening, but bleeding a lot. WRAITH stood up. In the middle of the kill zone. In the middle of the heaviest gunfire. She stood up like she was made of something bullets could not touch. "Get down!" Webb yelled. She ignored him. She brought her rifle to her shoulder and fired once. Somewhere on the north ridge, something exploded. She fired again. A machine gun spot went dark. She fired again. A mortar crew stopped shooting. She lowered the rifle and looked at Webb, not asking permission, not waiting for orders, just stating a fact. "I'm taking command now," she said. And somewhere deep in Webb's tired, scared brain. Relief flooded through him like pain medicine. "Okay," he whispered. She pressed a button on her throat. Microphone. Not to the dead radio, but to the team channel. When she spoke, her voice cut to the chaos like a sharp knife through skin. "Listen carefully," she said. "I'm going to tell you how to stay alive." The first thing WRAITH did was something Webb never would have thought of. She stopped them from shooting. "Cease fire," she ordered. "Everyone, now." Rivera looked at Webb to make sure it was okay. Webb nodded, still too shocked to understand what was happening. The SEAL weapons went quiet. The enemy kept firing, but without any bullets coming back at them. The shots became less accurate. They were just guessing where to aim, searching around. "They can't see us," WRAITH said calmly, like she was explaining the weather. "Thermal scopes are useless in this snow. Night vision gets washed out by their own gun flashes. They're shooting at where they think we are." She was right. The enemy fire was aimed at the spots they had been in 30 seconds ago. "So, what do we do?" Webb asked. It felt strange to ask instead of give orders. But the other choice was death, and his pride was not worth that price. "We move," WRAITH said, quietly, 30 meters east. "Stay in the tree line. No lights, no talking, no shooting unless I give the order." "They'll hear us," Carter argued, his voice tight with pain. "No," WRAITH said. "They won't, because you're going to move like I show you. You didn't show us anything." "Then watch." She moved. Webb had seen SEAL training, had done it himself. He knew that soldiers could move through land with almost no sound when they needed to. But WRAITH did not move like a SEAL. She moved like water, like shadow, like something that existed in the spaces between where sound lived. One moment she was crouched beside Webb. The next she was 15 feet away, invisible among the trees. He had not heard a single noise. "How?" Rivera started. "Later." Webb cut him off. "Move. Do what she did." They moved slower than WRAITH. Louder too. But with the enemy still shooting at their old spot, it did not matter. Within 2 minutes, the whole team had moved to a group of big rocks 30 meters east. They were completely hidden from the ambush positions. The enemy was still firing, still wasting bullets on empty ground. WRAITH pulled out a small device Webb did not recognize. Not the normal kind they get. She aimed it at the ridge line and pressed a button. A screen lit up showing heat spots. 47 enemies, she said. 3 heavy weapon spots. 2 mortar teams. Multiple shooters with night vision. They have a command group in that stone building at grid reference. She said, coordinates from memory. Probably talking on a different radio channel. "How do you know all that?" Carter asked. "I can see them." "With what?" "That thing's not a thermal scope." "No, it's better." She did not explain more. Webb studied the screen. She was right about everything. The positions, the weapons, the organization. Information they badly needed but had no way to get until now. "All right," Webb said slowly. "You've got good information. But we still can't fight through 47 enemies." "No," WRAITH agreed. "We can't, but I can." The words hung in the frozen air. "That's crazy," Rivera said. "Is it?" WRAITH pointed at the ridge line. "They think they have us trapped. They're relaxed, celebrating already. Watch." She was right again. Through gaps in the trees, Webb could see gun flashes becoming less often. Someone on the north ridge was laughing, actually laughing. They thought the Americans were already dead. "I'm going to change their minds," WRAITH said. She checked her rifle with practiced speed. "When I start shooting, you're going to move again. South this time. There's a dry creek bed about 40 meters that way. Get to it. Get Morrison stable. Wait for my signal." "What signal?" Webb asked. "You'll know." "And what about you?" She smiled for the first time since Webb had met her. It was not a warm smile. "I'm going to have a talk with their commanding officer." Before Webb could say anything, she was gone. Not running. Not rushing. Just stopping being there. Did she just... Carter started. "Move," Webb ordered. "Now." You heard her. They moved. This time, without WRAITH to guide them, The team made more noise. But the enemy attention was still on the empty tree line. So they reached the creek bed without anyone shooting at them. Morrison was awake now, his eyes glassy from shock and pain medicine. "What's happening?" he said, his words slurred. "Tactical miracle." Rivera muttered, "I think." Then, from somewhere high on the North Ridge, a single shot cracked through the night. One of the machine gun spots went dark. 2 seconds later, another shot, a different spot. The enemy fire shifted. Confused, searching for the new threat. WRAITH fired again, and again, each shot exact, each shot taking out an important target. Webb counted. 8 shots, 8 enemies down. All the heavy weapons people gone. The enemy group fell apart into chaos. "Who's shooting?" Someone shouted in accented English. "Where are they?" Another shot, another body. WRAITH had climbed the North Ridge without being seen. She was now taking apart the ambush from inside their own lines. "Impossible," Carter whispered. But the proof was right in front of them. The organized fire that had trapped them minutes ago was now broken apart. Panicked, soldiers shooting at shadows. Webb's radio crackled. Impossible. The radio was dead, but WRAITH's voice came through clear. "Webb, you seeing this? How are you on our frequency?" Different radio. "Listen carefully. In 30 seconds, they're going to figure out I'm behind them and send a group to find me. When they do, their eastern side will be open. That's your window." "Window for what?" "To run. The creek bed leads to a cave system half a click south. I looked at it on satellite before we came. You can stay safe there until rescue comes." "What about you?" "I'll keep them busy. That's a suicide mission. Only if I die." The radio went quiet. Webb looked at his team. 7 men in different stages of hurt, tiredness, and shock. Morrison could barely stand. Carter was losing blood. They had maybe 300 bullets left between all of them. "She's buying us time," Rivera said quietly. "I know. So we should use it." "I know." But using it meant leaving her alone, against 40 or more enemies. As if she could read his mind, WRAITH's voice crackled through again. "I don't need saving, Lieutenant. I need you to do your job. Get your men out." Webb made the choice. "Fall back," he ordered. "South. Fast and quiet. Rivera, take the front. Carter, you help Morrison." We stopped for nothing. They moved. Behind them, the sound of gunfire got louder. WRAITH was fighting multiple targets now, keeping the whole enemy force focused on her position. Webb ran, hating himself for it. But she was right. His job was his men. And wherever WRAITH had come from, whatever she had done before this, she clearly knew how to handle herself. The creek bed turned into a ravine. The ravine led to a cave opening, exactly where she said it would be. They piled inside, weapons covering the entrance. For 5 minutes, they heard nothing but distant gunfire. Then silence. Complete, total silence. "Is she dead?" Carter asked. Nobody answered. Then a new sound. Helicopter blades. Distant but getting closer. "That's not ours," Rivera said, checking his watch. "We're not scheduled for pickup for another 6 hours." The blades got louder. Webb's mind raced. If the enemy had air support, they were finished. The cave would become a grave. His radio crackled one more time. "Merry Christmas, gentlemen." WRAITH said, "Your ride is here." The helicopter was not an enemy one. It was theirs, but changed beyond what anyone would recognize. No markings, no identification. Just flat black material and weapon pods that looked like they came from a science fiction movie. It touched down 50 meters from the cave entrance. The spinning blades whipped the snow into a blinding swirl. WRAITH came out of the white blur like a ghost. No injuries that Webb could see, not even breathing hard. She jogged to the cave entrance. "Load hurt people first. We have 4 minutes before their backup arrives." "Backup?" Webb asked. "I thought you." "I took out their front group, but they radioed for help before I got their command post. We need to go." The team scrambled. Morrison was carried to the helicopter on a stretcher. They made Quickly, Carter limped behind, held up by Rivera. The rest of the team watched for danger, weapons aimed at the ridgeline. Webb was the last one to get on. He turned to WRAITH. "How did you—" "Later," she cut him off. "Get in." The helicopter lifted off before the door was all the way closed. Through the window, Webb saw headlights coming from the north. Dozens of them. Military vehicles. The backup WRAITH had mentioned. They had escaped with maybe 90 seconds to spare. The crew chief, wearing the same playing gear as WRAITH, handed out thermal blankets and water. Medical supplies appeared. A medic began treating Morrison and Carter with professional skill. Webb sank into a jump seat. The adrenaline was finally leaving his body. His hands shook. His ears rang. Every muscle hurt. Across from him, WRAITH sat calmly, taking apart her rifle with practiced ease, like she had just come back from a routine practice exercise. "Who are you?" Webb asked. She did not look up from her weapon. "That's classified. You just saved my entire team." "I did my job." "Your job isn't SEAL support. We're not cleared for whoever you work for." "Worked," she corrected. Past tense. "So you're retired?" "Something like that." Rivera leaned forward. "Ma'am, I don't care what organization you're from or what your clearance level is. What you did back there, I've never seen anything like it." She slid the bolt carrier back into her rifle with a metal click. "You're not supposed to." The helicopter turned hard, flying away from the valley. Webb watched the land slide past below, white and unfriendly, and not caring about human suffering. "The commander," Webb said suddenly, "Foster, we left his body." "Already picked up," WRAITH said. She finally looked up. "Different team. They went in while I was fighting the ambush force. Foster's on his way home." "You organized all that while fighting 40 enemies?" 38, she corrected. "I counted." Carter, his shoulder now properly wrapped, stared at her with something close to amazement. "Did you kill them all?" "No. Some ran. Some gave up. Some will need doctors." She paused. "But their command structure doesn't exist anymore. That cell won't be working for at least 6 months." "One person did that." Rivera asked. One person who knew what she was doing. The helicopter pilot's voice came through the cabin speakers. "WRAITH, this is Nightboard. You have a secure call. Sending it to your phone." She pulled a satellite phone from her vest. Listened for maybe 20 seconds. Said understood once. Hung up. "Change of plans," she announced. "We're not going to the forward operating base." "Where are we going?" Webb asked. "Classified location. You'll be questioned, treated, and sent back to your unit within 72 hours. "Questioned by who?" She almost smiled again. "People who will ask you to forget this ever happened." The helicopter flew on through the darkness. Morrison, awake now and properly medicated, spoke for the first time. "I don't care who you are or who you work for. You saved our lives. That's all I need to know." The rest of the team murmured agreement. WRAITH stood, moved the open door of the helicopter, and looked out at the night. The wind caught her hair and whipped it around her face. "You saved your own lives," she said without turning around. "I just gave you the chance." Webb wanted to argue, wanted to say that without her tactical knowledge, her shooting, her command presence, they would all be dead in that valley. But maybe she was right. Maybe survival always came down to the choices you made in the moment, and she had just made it possible for them to make the right ones. The helicopter carried them south, away from the combat zone, toward whatever classified building would process them and send them back to the regular world, where wars were fought by normal soldiers with normal skills, where people like WRAITH did not exist. Except she did exist. Webb had seen it. They all had. The crew chief handed out MREs. Coffee appeared from somewhere. The team settled into familiar routines after a mission, checking equipment, trading stories, processing what had happened. But Webb could not settle. His mind kept going back to one moment, when WRAITH had stood up in the middle of the kill zone and simply taken command. No hesitation, no doubt, just certainty. He moved to where she stood by the door. "Can I ask you something?" "You can ask." When you took over back there, you didn't ask permission, didn't check with me, just did it. She was quiet for a long moment. The helicopter engines filled the silence. Because someone needed to, she said finally, and you needed someone to need to. It was the most honest thing anyone had said to him in years. Thank you, Webb said. Don't thank me, Lieutenant. Learn from it. Next time you're in that situation, be the one who takes command. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the perfect answer. Just make the call and live with it. That's easy for you to say. You had all the answers. She turned to look at him. Her eyes were tired. He realized, almost ancient. I didn't have answers, she said. I had training. There's a difference. Answers are for classrooms. Training is for staying alive. The helicopter began going down. Through the window, Webb saw lights of some kind of building tucked in a mountain valley. No runways. No visible identification. We're here, the pilot announced. The team gathered their stuff. Morrison was moved to a waiting rolling bed. Medical people in unmarked uniforms took over his care with practiced skill. Webb was the last off the helicopter. As his boots hit the pavement, he turned back. WRAITH was still inside, rifle slung over her shoulder, watching the team with that same unreadable expression. Will we see you again? Webb asked. Can I at least know your real name? She smiled. A real smile this time. Sad maybe, or just tired. WRAITH is real enough. The helicopter door began to close. Hey, Webb called out. That question I asked in the valley, about your rank. The door paused. Yeah. What would you have said if you'd answered honestly? WRAITH looked at him for a long moment. High enough to know better, she said. Low enough to still care. The door slid shut. The helicopter lifted. Within seconds, it was gone, swallowed by the darkness and the falling snow. Webb stood there watching the empty sky. Someone touched his elbow. A handler, probably, ready to begin the questioning process. But Webb barely noticed. He was thinking about command, about certainty, about the difference between rank and authority, and about a woman who did not need either. Because when she spoke, the battlefield itself stopped to listen. 3 days later, Webb sat in a small room with no windows and too many questions. The person asking questions was a middle-aged woman in regular clothes with a kind of face that showed nothing. She had been asking questions for 6 hours, recording every answer, checking every detail against other information. Let's go back to the moment Lieutenant Commander Foster was killed, she said for the 4th time. What happened next? Webb sighed. I told you. WRAITH took command. Describe that process. There was no process. She just did it. Military command has a chain. Succession is clear. You were next in line after Foster. Why didn't you take command? I did, for about 30 seconds. Then I realized she had better information and better training for that specific situation. So you gave up command to an unknown contractor? I followed the orders of someone who knew how to keep my men alive. The woman made a note. That's not how it works, Lieutenant. It is if you want to survive. More notes. The scratch of pen on paper was the only sound. Tell me about her shooting, the woman said. You stated in your first report that she took out multiple targets from a high position. How many targets exactly? I don't know. 8, 10. I stopped counting. And you didn't find that suspicious? I found it amazing. Did she use any equipment you didn't recognize? Webb stopped for a moment. The device she had used to count and find the enemy. The satellite phone that worked when theirs did not. The helicopter that arrived impossibly fast. Yes, he admitted. Describe it. I can't. I don't know what half of it was. The woman leaned back. Lieutenant Webb, I need you to understand something. The person you knew as WRAITH does exist in any database we can get to. No service record. No contractor registration. No fingerprint or face match in any friendly country system. That's impossible. She was clearly military trained. Oh, she was trained. A lot. By people we would very much like to talk to. The woman's expression changed slightly. Not quite sympathy, but something close. You were involved in an operation that officially never happened. Rescued by people who officially don't exist. Using abilities that officially aren't available. So what happens now? Now you sign a paper promising never to talk about this. It will follow you for the rest of your life. You go back to your unit. You never speak of this again. And if anyone asks, you were on a training exercise that went well. And WRAITH, forget about her. She's not your concern. But Webb could not forget. None of them could. That night, back in the barracks, the team gathered quietly in Morrison's room. The chief was getting better. The metal pieces had missed anything important, but his eyes held the same haunted look they all shared. Anyone else having trouble sleeping? Rivera asked. Nods all around. Carter spoke up, his arm in a sling. I keep replaying it. The way she moved. The shot she made. It's like she was playing a different game than the rest of us. Because she was, Morrison said quietly, we were trying to survive. She was trying to win. What's the difference? Carter asked. Survivors react. Winners decide what happens. Webb knew exactly what Morrison meant. Every move WRAITH had made was not a response to what the enemy did. It was a move designed to make the enemy respond to her. Think they'll tell us who she really was? Rivera asked. No, Webb said. And maybe that's for the best. How is that for the best? Carter demanded. She saved our lives, and we don't even know her name. We know what matters, Morrison said. We know she was one of the good ones. The room got quiet. Finally, Webb stood. Get some sleep? We go out again in 2 weeks. And when we do, he paused, picking his words carefully. When we do, we remember what she taught us. What did she teach us? Carter asked. Webb thought about that moment in the kill zone. The certainty. The command. The complete refusal to accept losing. That rank is what the military gives you, he said. But authority is what you earn. 6 months later, Webb's team was sent out again. Different country. Different mission. Same snow. They were pulling a target out of a building when things went wrong. Enemy backup arrived early. The exit route was blocked. Communications were spotty. The situation felt creepily familiar. Command, this is Sierra 2. Webb spoke into his radio. We're pinned down, requesting immediate air support. Static. Then, Sierra 2 be advised. Air support is 20 minutes out. Can you hold? Webb looked at the situation. Angles of attack on 3 sides. Enemy using heavy fire to keep them stuck in place. A vehicle-mounted weapon being set up to their east. 20 minutes was forever. Negative, Webb replied. We need options now. He looked at his team. Rivera met his eyes. Morrison, fully better, gave a small nod. Even Carter, no longer a kid but an experienced soldier, waited for the call. Webb took a breath. Then he did something he would not have done 6 months ago. Listen up, he said, his voice cutting through the chaos. We're not waiting for rescue. We're making our own exit. Rivera, I need you to put fire on that vehicle. Morrison, you're with me. We're going to go around their eastern position. Carter, you cover our movement with exact shots. Don't just spray bullets. Take out targets. Sir, that's not the normal way to... Rivera started. I don't care about normal. I care about getting us home. You have your orders. Do it. For half a second, nobody moved. Then Rivera grinned. Yes, sir. The team moved like they had practiced it 100 times. Because they had. In their minds. Replaying that Christmas night over and over. Rivera's fire forced the vehicle crew to hide. Morrison and Webb went around to the eastern side, using land that should not have given them cover. But did if you knew how to read it. Carter's shots were not just covering fire. They were surgical. Taking out threats before they could shoot. WRAITH had taught them to decide what happens. So they decided. 10 minutes later, they were clear to fight with 0 injuries. Sierra 2, this is command. Air support is coming. Do you still need it? Negative, command. We're clear. Going to the pickup point. Copy, Sierra 2. Good work. Command out. Webb let himself have a small smile. That was different, Morrison said as they moved. Yeah. Felt good, though. Yeah. Carter jogged up beside them. "Lieutenant, where'd you learn that going around move? That's not in any book I've seen." Webb thought about a woman standing in a kill zone, reading a battlefield like it was written in a language only she could speak. "Someone showed me once," he said, in passing. They reached the pickup point. The helicopter was already waiting, a normal one this time, with markings and identification, and a crew that existed in official files. As they lifted off, Webb looked out at the land below, white and unfriendly, but not unbeatable. Never unbeatable if you knew what you were doing. His radio crackled. Private channel. Encrypted frequency he did not recognize. A voice he had heard only once. 6 months ago. "Nice work, Lieutenant. You're learning." Webb's head snapped up. He looked around the helicopter, the crew, his team. Nobody else had heard it. Nobody else was reacting. "Wraith?" he said quietly. Static. Then, just before the signal cut out, "Stay sharp out there." The radio went dead. Webb stared at it for a long moment. Rivera leaned over. "You say something, boss?" "No," Webb said, just thinking, but he was smiling. Because somewhere out there in the darkness, in the snow, in the chaos of a world at war, someone was watching. Someone who did not need rank or recognition, or even a name. Someone who just did the work. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. 2 years after the Valley, Webb received a strange message. It came through official channels, but with an unofficial heading. No address where it came from. No signature. Just 6 words. "The Valley needs you again tonight." Webb stared at the message for a long time. He was a lieutenant commander now, running his own team. He had earned a silver star for the mission Rivera still jokingly called the WRAITH Protocol. But he had not forgotten. None of them had. That night, he drove to the location hidden in the message, a parking garage in Virginia. 3rd level, 1 car waiting, a black SUV with dark windows. The back door opened as he walked up. Inside sat a man in his 50s. He had the look of someone who had spent his life in shadows. "Lieutenant Commander Webb, thank you for coming." "Who are you?" "Someone who works with people who don't exist." The man handed Webb a tablet. "I need you to look at this." Webb looked. It was video from the Valley. That Valley. Christmas 2 years ago. But the camera angle was different. High quality. Professional. The kind of recording equipment that costs more than Webb's yearly pay. He watched himself on the screen. Watched his team pinned down. Watched the chaos and the fear. Then he watched WRAITH. The video showed what he'd been too busy surviving to notice. Her complete tactical destruction of the ambush force. Every shot perfectly planned. Every movement designed to create the most confusion with the least danger to herself. It was like watching a chess master play against beginners. Where did this come from? Webb asked. A recording device she was wearing. For training purposes. Training who? The man took back the tablet. "That's what I need to talk to you about. The organization WRAITH worked for is being reorganized. We're looking for new teachers. People who can train the next generation. I'm not qualified for whatever it is you do. You survived the Valley. You change your methods to fit your style. You've used them successfully in 4 missions since then." The man leaned forward. "You're more qualified than you think." "What happened to WRAITH?" "She's retired. Really this time. She finished her last mission 3 months ago and disappeared. We haven't heard from her since." Webb felt something cold settle in his chest. "Is she alive?" "As far as we know. She sends a message once a month. Just 1 word. Clear. It's her way of letting us know she's okay. But you're not sure. People like her don't retire peacefully. The work follows them. The enemies remember. We're worried. And you want to help find her?" "No. We want you to help replace her. To teach others what she taught you." Webb sat back. Through the SUV's window, he could see normal people going about normal lives. Carrying groceries. Walking dogs. Worrying about bills and traffic, and whether their favorite team would win. They had no idea what kept them safe. What happened in valleys and buildings and dark places. so they could keep walking their dogs. I need to think about it, Webb said. You have 24 hours. The man handed him a card. No name, just a number. Call when you decide. Webb took the card. That night, he could not sleep. He kept thinking about WRAITH standing in the door of that helicopter, silhouetted against the darkness, high enough to know better, low enough to still care. He thought about the organization that had made someone like her, the training, the missions, the toll it must take. And he thought about his team. Rivera had left the Navy, gone into private security work. Morrison was training the next group of SEALs at Coronado. Carter was still being sent on missions, still taking risks. They were all trying to pass on what they had learned. Maybe that was the point. Maybe surviving was not enough. Maybe you had to teach others to survive too. Webb made the call at 6 a.m. I have conditions, he said when the man answered. Name them. I keep my team. Rivera, Morrison, Carter. If I'm teaching, they're helping me teach. Done. What else? If WRAITH ever needs help, you tell me. Right away. A pause. That's not how we. Those are my terms. Another pause. Longer this time. Agreed. The man said finally. Report to these coordinates in 72 hours. Bring your team. Tell no one. The call ended. Webb sat in his apartment watching the sun rise over a city that would never know his name, just like they would never know WRAITH's. But somewhere out there, someone was safer because of what they had done. Someone would survive a valley because of lessons learned in blood and snow. And maybe that was the only rank that mattered. 3 days later, Webb and his team stood in a plain-looking building in a location they had been ordered to forget as soon as they left. The training place was underground. It had technology that was way ahead of its time, things that should not exist yet. Their first class of students waited in the briefing room, 20 soldiers from different special operations units, the best of the best. Nervous? Rivera asked. Terrified? Webb admitted. Good. She'd approve. Morrison clapped him on the shoulder. Remember what she said. Don't wait for the perfect answer. Just make the call. Carter grinned. And if anyone asks your rank, high enough, Webb finished. They walked into the briefing room together. 20 faces turned to watch them. Hard faces, experienced faces, faces that had seen fighting and survived but knew they still had more to learn. Webb stood at the front of the room. My name is Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb, he said, and I'm going to teach you something I learned from someone who doesn't exist. Someone who saved my life by teaching me that survival isn't about waiting for rescue. It's about creating your own choices. He clicked to the first slide. It showed a valley in winter, white and unfriendly and deadly. 2 years ago, Webb continued, my team walked into a kill box. We should have died. We didn't. And the reason we didn't is because one person refused to accept that outcome. The room was silent. This course is about becoming that person. The one who doesn't accept defeat. The one who decides what happens instead of just surviving. The one who stands up in the middle of the chaos and takes command. Webb looked at each face in the room. It won't be easy. It won't be comfortable. Some of you won't make it through. But the ones who do, you'll be able to save lives that should have been lost. Just like someone once saved mine. He clicked to the next slide. Tactical diagrams. Movement patterns. Shooting solutions, all of it learned in the worst classroom possible, and all of it about to be passed forward. Let's begin, Webb said. In the back of the room, someone was watching through a one-way mirror. A woman in her 40s with steel gray eyes and the posture of someone who had spent her life standing between regular people and nightmares. She watched Webb teach, watched him use her methods, watched him give the next group of soldiers the tools they would need. Then she turned and walked away. Nobody stopped her. Nobody asked where she was going, because she did not exist in any database, did not have a rank or a name or a service record, just a call sign that had become legend. And legends did not need permission to disappear. The teaching course ran for 6 months. Webb's first class graduated 18 soldiers out of the original 20. One had failed during the mental evaluation. Another had been hurt during live-fire exercises. Not badly, but enough to need to start over. But the 18 who made it were different. Webb could see it in their eyes. The same look he had seen in Wraiths. Not being without fear. Nobody who had survived fighting was without fear, but certainty. The deep-down knowledge that they could decide what happens instead of just lasting through it. Graduation was not a ceremony, just a handshake, and orders sending them back to their units. Morrison came up to Webb as the last student left. You see Rodriguez's final scores? Off the charts. She reminded me of someone. Webb knew who he meant. Rodriguez had that same careful way of moving, that same ability to read a tactical situation 3 moves ahead. Think she'll make it? Morrison asked. If she doesn't get killed first. Webb was only half joking. The best soldiers took the worst missions. That's dark, boss. That's reality. Rivera joined them carrying coffee that smelled like the strip paint. Command just sent new orders. They want us to run another course. This one for Allied Special Operations. British, Australian. Soldiers from 12 different countries. The Alliance is combining resources for a joint training program. Guess whose methods they want to teach? Webb took the coffee. Regretted it right away. How do they even know about our methods? This is supposed to be classified. Word gets around. Especially when soldiers start surviving situations they shouldn't. Rivera grinned. We're becoming a legend. She became a legend. We're just spreading it. Carter appeared in the doorway. Boss, you need to see this. Webb followed him to the communications room. On the screen was a news broadcast. International channel. The video showed a military operation that had gone wrong. A hostage rescue in North Africa. 12 special operations, soldiers pinned down. Heavy injuries. Then the video changed. Someone was moving through the enemy positions. Fast. Precise. Impossible to see clearly in the chaos. Is that... Morrison started. No, Webb said right away. She's retired. It's just someone trained well. But he was not sure. The movement pattern was too familiar. The tactical skill too perfect. Whoever that is, Carter said, they just saved those soldiers. The video ended. The news person said something about unidentified Allied support and moved on to the next story. Webb's secure phone rang. The number he had been told never to write down and never to save. Did you see it? The man from the SUV asked. No greeting. I saw something. That was 3 days ago. We've been trying to confirm who it was since then. No luck. What do you need from me? Nothing. I'm just letting you know. If it is her, she's working without permission. That makes her a problem. Or maybe she's solving a problem you can't. That's not how this works, Commander. We have rules. Protocols. Did she break any of those rules when she saved my team? Silence on the line. Just keep your eyes open, the man said finally. If she contacts you, let us know. And if she doesn't, then hope she knows what she's doing. The call ended. Webb stared at the blank screen where the video had been. That was her, wasn't it? Rivera asked quietly. I don't know, but you think it was? Webb did not answer. Did not need to. They all knew the truth. WRAITH was not retired. She had just changed who she was working for. Herself. 1 year later, Webb received a package. No return address. No stamps. Just his name on a plain box left at the guard station of where he was working. Inside was a tablet. High-end. Military grade. And a note in handwriting he did not recognize. For the next class, show them how it's really done. W. Webb turned on the tablet. It had hundreds of hours of video. Operations he had never heard of. Tactics that were not in any book. Situations that should have been impossible to survive. All of it narrated by WRAITH's voice. This is lesson 1. Her voice said on the first video. Reading land in city environments. The video showed a city street. Then her breakdown of it. Lines of sight. Shooting positions. Dead zones. Escape routes. All explained in that same calm, exact voice. The idea is simple, she continued. Your enemy knows the space better than you do. So don't fight them in their space. Make them fight in yours. Webb watched 10 videos, 20, 50. Each one was a masterclass in tactical thinking. Why are you showing me this? He asked the empty room. As if an answer, the next video began. But this one was different. No operation video. Just WRAITH sitting in a plain room, looking directly at the camera. If you're watching this, Marcus, it means I'm either deep in a mission I can't talk during, or I'm dead. Either way, the work continues. You're doing good work with the training program. I've been watching. Your students are surviving situations they shouldn't. That's the point. She paused, seemed to pick her next words carefully. I want you to understand something. What I taught you in that valley wasn't special. It wasn't magic. It was just clarity, the ability to see what needs to be done and do it without stopping to think twice. Another pause. Most people fail not because they can't do it. They fail because they wait too long. They wait for permission. They wait for the perfect answer. They wait for someone else to make the call. She leaned forward a little. Don't let your students wait. Don't let them think there's some secret trick or advanced training that will make them unable to be hurt. There isn't. There's just a decision to act when action is needed. Her face softened just a tiny bit. You asked me once what my rank was. I gave you a flip answer because the truth is complicated. I held every rank at some point, and none of them mattered when bullets started flying. What mattered was whether I could get the job done. That's what you need to teach, Marcus, not tactics or tricks. Those are tools. Teach them to trust their judgment. Teach them that authority isn't given. It's taken. In the moment when it's needed most. She reached forward. The video ended. Webb sat in silence for a long time. Then he copied everything from the tablet to the classified server, encrypted it, made it available to every teacher in the program. The next morning, he started his new class with the first video. 20 fresh faces. 20 soldiers who thought they knew what they were doing. This course, Webb announced, is taught by someone most of you will never meet. Someone who doesn't exist in any official way, but someone who saved my life and the lives of countless others. He hit play. WRAITH's voice filled the room. This is Lesson 1. Reading land in city environments. Webb watched the students' faces as they took in the information, saw the moment when they realized they were learning from someone extraordinary. By the end of the first week, they were watching the videos over and over, taking notes, asking questions Webb could not always answer. Who is she really? One student asked. Someone who understood that the mission matters more than the credit. Webb replied. Is she still working? I don't know. Do you think we'll ever meet her? Webb thought about that video from North Africa, the unidentified Allied support who had saved 12 soldiers. If you're very lucky, he said, you'll never need to. 3 years after the Valley, Webb was a full commander now, running the entire Joint Special Operations training program. Rivera was his second in command. Morrison handled field exercises. Carter had become one of their best teachers. They had trained 400 soldiers, saved countless lives because of it, and they had never heard from WRAITH again, until the day Morrison burst into Webb's office, carrying a tablet. Boss, you need to see this. The video was from Syria. A truck carrying people bringing help to others was pinned down by enemy forces. 23 aid workers, 7 security people. No way out. Then someone appeared on the ridgeline. Webb knew that shooting stance, had watched it on hundreds of training videos. 12 shots, 12 enemy positions taken out. The truck moved to safety. The shooter disappeared. It's her, Morrison said. Has to be. Webb nodded slowly. Probably. She's still out there. Still doing it. Yeah. Without backup. Without support. Just her. And whatever she decides needs doing. Webb looked at his second in command. Would you stop her? Morrison thought about this. Could anyone? Fair point. That evening, Webb received an encrypted message on the secure channel he had been given 3 years ago. Just 3 words. She's in trouble. Webb made the call right away. Where? He asked when the man answered. Eastern Europe. She went in to get a high-value person who wanted to switch sides. Went dark 4 days ago. We think she's been caught. You think or you know? Satellite pictures show a building where she was last tracked. Guards doubled. Security increased. Either she's inside or they're waiting for her. Send me the coordinates. Commander, this isn't your. Send me the coordinates or I'll find them myself. Your choice. A pause. Then, sending now. But Webb, this isn't official. If you do this, you're on your own. Story of my life. Webb put together his team. Not the students. Not the trainees. The originals. Rivera. Morrison. Carter, plus 6 of their best graduates, including Rodriguez. They were in the air in 4 hours. The flight was long and quiet. Everyone knew what they were doing, going after someone who had made it clear she did not want to be found, risking their careers for a person who did not officially exist. But none of them stopped to think twice. Remember, Webb said as they got close to the target zone, "We're not here to rescue her. She doesn't need rescuing. We're here to provide backup if she needs it. And if she doesn't," Carter asked, "then we watch her work and learn something." They sneaked into the building's outer area at 3 a.m. local time. The security was heavy, professional, but not perfect. Webb's team had learned from the best. They moved like ghosts, read the land, guess patrol patterns, became invisible. Inside the building, they found the person who wanted to switch sides, got him safe, prepared to leave, but no sign of WRAITH. "She's not here," Morrison whispered. "Then where?" Rivera asked. Webb looked up at the building's 3rd floor, the executive level. "She's not getting someone out," he realized. "She's taking someone out." They found her in the building boss's office. The boss was tied to his chair. 3 of his top officers were knocked out, and WRAITH was downloading files from his computer like she had all the time in the world. She looked up when they came in, showed no surprise. "Took you long enough," she said. "You're supposed to be retired," Webb replied. "I got bored. For days dark. Command thinks you're caught. Command worries too much." She finished the download, put the drive in her pocket. "I had to wait for their shift change. Security is tightest at night. Easier to move during the day if you know what you're doing." Webb wanted to be angry, wanted to lecture her about rules and permission, but all he could do was laugh. "What?" she asked. "You're teaching us even when you're not trying." She almost smiled. "You learn faster than most." "Come on," Webb said. "Let's get out of here before someone notices we're all breaking international law." The escape was perfect. Within an hour, they were in the air with the person who wanted to switch sides, and WRAITH, and enough information to keep analysts busy for months. In the helicopter, WRAITH sat across from Webb. "You shouldn't have come," she said. "Probably not. I had it handled." "I know. So why?" Webb thought about that question, about loyalty and duty and the debts you could never really pay back. "Because 3 years ago, you stood up in a kill zone and took command when nobody asked you to. Seemed only fair to return the favor." She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded once. "Fair enough." They flew in silence for a while. "So what happens now?" Rivera asked. "Do you disappear again?" "Probably," WRAITH said. "The work never stops, does it?" Morrison observed. "Not while there's still work to be done." Carter spoke up. "Will we see you again?" She thought about this. "Maybe, if you're unlucky enough to need me." "Or lucky enough," Rodriguez said quietly. WRAITH looked at the young soldier, studied her for a moment. "You were in my 3rd training video. City fighting situations. You asked a question I didn't answer in the recording." Rodriguez blinked. "You remember that?" "I remember all of them. You asked how to stay aware of what's happening around you when every feeling is screaming at you to hide. What's the answer? Trust your training more than your feelings. Feelings keep you alive in the moment. Training keeps you alive for the next moment." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "Processing. Keep learning." WRAITH said, "Keep questioning. Keep pushing. That's the only way to stay sharp." "Yes, ma'am." WRAITH smiled. "Don't call me ma'am. I work for a living." The team laughed. It was the most human Webb had ever seen her. The helicopter landed at a secure place. The person who switched sides was taken into custody. The information was given to analysts. Questioning sessions were scheduled, and WRAITH disappeared while they were doing paperwork. Webb found a note where she had been sitting. "You asked me once about rank. Here's the truth. I was a colonel. Before that, a major. Before that, everything in between. Rose as high as they'd let me. Then I realized height doesn't matter. Impact does. Stopped chasing rank. Started chasing results. Haven't regretted it once. Keep teaching them, Marcus. They need you. W." Webb folded the note carefully, knew he would never see her again, and knew it did not matter, because what she had taught him, taught all of them, would live on in every soldier they trained. Every mission those soldiers survived. Every regular person those soldiers protected. The work continued, with or without credit, with or without rank. Just a mission and the people willing to do it. 5 years after the Valley, Webb was a captain now, running the entire Special Operations Development Program for NATO. The training building had grown bigger. 500 soldiers trained, 16 countries represented, a revolution in tactical thinking that nobody could quite trace back to where it started. But Webb knew. They all knew. On Christmas Eve, Webb stood in the main briefing hall, watching his latest class graduate, 60 soldiers who would return to their units as teachers themselves, spreading what they learned even further. Rivera appeared at his elbow. You see the news? Which news? Hostage situation in Mali. 20 missionaries held by an extremist group. French special forces were planning a rescue. Terrible odds. Were planning. Hostages walked out this morning. Guards were all knocked out. No shots fired. No injuries. French are claiming it was their operation, but nobody believes them. But Webb finished. Rivera grinned. There was video. Brief. Shows someone on a rooftop providing overwatch. Can't see a face. But the shooting stance was different. Webb did not need to see the video. Knew exactly what stance Rivera meant. She's still out there, Morrison said, joining them. Still doing it. Think she'll ever stop? Carter asked. Would you? Webb replied. Fair point. The graduation ceremony ended. Soldiers went back to their units, carrying knowledge that would save lives in ways they would never know about. Webb walked the empty building that night, thought about valleys and kill zones and moments when everything balanced on a single decision. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. Merry Christmas, Marcus. Still teaching him to stand up when it matters. W. He typed a reply. Every day. Still showing up when nobody asked you to. The response was immediate. Someone has to. Be safe out there. Safe is boring. Effective is better. Webb smiled. Typed, thank you for everything. A long pause. Then, thank you for continuing it. The work matters. The rank never did. The conversation ended. Webb stood in the darkness, looking out at the training grounds where tomorrow another class would begin. Another 60 soldiers would learn that authority is not about position. It is about skill and will, and the courage to act. Somewhere in the world, WRAITH was doing the same thing. Not in a classroom, in the field where it mattered most. 2 different methods. Same mission. His phone buzzed once more. Final message. One more thing. That kid Rodriguez. Watch her. She's going to be better than all of us, including me. Webb looked up Rodriguez's file. Saw her latest performance scores. Top of every category. Requested for assignment with the best units. He made a note to follow up, to make sure she got the support she needed. Because that is what WRAITH would do. Not because rank demanded it. Because the mission required it. Webb walked to his office. Sat at his desk. Started writing the lesson plan for next quarter's training program. Outside, snow began to fall. Christmas snow. Clean and white and quiet. Like that valley 5 years ago. But this time, Webb was not afraid of it. Because he had learned something in that valley. Something no rank could teach and no book could explain. When the battlefield explodes and the situation seems impossible and every feeling screams to wait for orders, that is when you stand up. That is when you take command. Not because someone gave you permission, but because someone needs to. And if you don't, who will? Webb finished the lesson plan at 3 a.m, emailed it to his staff, got ready for tomorrow's work. His last thought before sleep was of a woman standing in a helicopter door, silhouetted against the darkness. High enough to know better, low enough to still care. No rank required, just clarity, just will, just the certainty that when she spoke, the battlefield stopped to listen. And maybe that was the greatest rank of all.